was getting more and more ridiculous. But anyway, this story came out in 2017, and I don't recall covering it. I mean, if I did, I don't remember. It's been like 5 years. I would think I remember the story. But here's what happened. And I might have overlooked it because there were so many stories coming out from, a lot of people at that time, but it says a woman came forward with allegations that former Anthrax guitarist Dan Spitz raped her when she was 15 years old. Almost as chilling, she claims that Paul Stanley from Kiss made a pass at her immediately thereafter. So she has, however, also made it clear that no other member of Anthrax were involved, and nor, to the best of her knowledge, were ever made aware of the incident. So she singly, this dude right here. And so, and what was kind of creepy about it to me is that when I won the tickets to go see them, I was still a teenager. So I was like, I dodged a bullet because this fool, I didn't even know he was as small as he was. I was actually going through this. I'm like, that's so weird. Anyway, so it says in a post that seems to have been deleted, she says she's been in contact with the fiance and since sharing her story. And Spitz has not released a comment at this time. It says, although these accusations were made on Facebook, Metals X is withholding the victim's name until we confirm that she's okay with it being in the press. Isn't this crazy though? I literally put my story with photos and everything else, but this is what gets posted. That's what I'm saying. I find this stuff so crazy. Very crazy. There's something going on with that. But here, and this is all she put. She just put that, right? Nothing, no picture, no long history, none. I believe the story. I'm just saying this. But hello, anybody could write something like this. I believe it because I believe the characteristics that she was talking about on here, and it actually mirrored another story, which I'm going to show the two together, right? Jesus Christ, with all these sexual assault accusations going around by famous people, maybe it's my turn to call out Dan Spitz, formerly of Anthrax. When I was 15 years old, I was at a Kiss concert in Edmonton, Alberta, right? So Canada. In between sets, I was invited backstage. I was then ushered onto their tour bus where Dan walked in wearing a robe and a towel on his head, and he forced his penis down my throat, and it happened so fast he had my hair wrapped tightly around his fist so I couldn't move. Not one word was ever said to me, and I vomited on him, and it was my way to get out of there. And as I ran with tears streaming down my face, tears are falling, there's a song to that. I was approached by Paul Stanley, who then touched my hair and said, wow, you and me would make beautiful babies with lots of hair. He didn't even mention my mascara or tears running down my face or why I was upset. I went back into the crowd and told no one. Today I'd tell the world, me too. It just sounds believable because, like, the personality of Paul would totally kind of be like that type of guy. And, um, Dan Spitz actually got in trouble for domestic violence, not in this some period of time in this thing too. So his history is being violent to women, though his wife or girlfriend or whatever stood up for him and said, try to make herself sound more tough than he is. They're like, he's only like 100 pounds and 5 foot tall, please. But he did injure my arm, shoulder, whatever bullshit. Anyway, so he's a violent guy. And for him, it would be violent on a small 15-year-old, right? A 15-year-old, regardless of his height here, right? So then it goes on. I want to make it very clear no other members of Anthrax were involved. As far as I know, none of them knew. And this is about Dan Spitz, not Anthrax as a whole. The band should not be punished or their name be tarnished. Please, if you must say anything, blame the abuser, not the band. Thank you. Yeah, I mean, it's not like they were sitting around. Like she said, they were all like kicking back on the bus and watching and shit. Then that would be like a different story. And then so to all the naysayers and a-holes, why in the world of all people would I accuse Dan? I mean, really, I wasn't even a fan of Anthrax. I didn't even know who they were when I saw them at 15. Surely if I was to make up a story. I could have picked 100 and so-called famous people to blame. Yeah, like Paul Stanley, right? All she said was Paul Stanley just didn't give a shit and was trying to put a pass at her, but she could have used that story and said Paul. I mean, I would have rather, like, if you're going to make up a story, like, wouldn't you go and just say Paul? Because, Dan, because I'm sure a lot of people don't even know who the hell he is. They're like, Dan, Anthrax. I mean, they know Anthrax, I'm sure, but, just that. Okay, so the other story, isn't this is so ridiculous, huh? Yes, it is. That's on another. Here we go. So this is another story, which is weird because it's so much alike, but it's different in parts. So when I was 15 when I started partying with rock stars. I told no one what they did to me up until now, right? So then there's this picture, and I didn't do this clip, right? I'm all thinking about it. I was like, I think I was going to, and then I went through this thing, and maybe I put it somewhere else. I don't know. But anyway, the author, age 14, with her father. I had just stepped foot on a tour bus of my favorite rock band after a friend and I were miraculously offered backstage passes moments before, right? Doesn't it sound, it just sounds the same, but you're going to see they didn't, on the other story, they didn't mention a friend. And it says, I dreamt of this day for years and now at age 15, it was finally coming true. A few hours earlier, I'd been at my friend Tiffany's house getting ready for the concert, and it had taken me weeks to put together a plan, convincing, to get my parents, to get by my parents, right? So they didn't approve of me hanging out with Tiffany, who had a boyfriend, wore makeup, and could stay out as late as she wanted, which were against all the rules for me, as my parents knew, when I left the house that summer afternoon, I was going to a concert with someone else entirely. And at Tiffany's, we blasted music, drank wine coolers, and smoked her mom's Marlboro cigarettes, and we teased out her hair, applied thick swipes of black eyeliner, dressed in her matching black leather skirts, and an hour later, Tiffany's mom dropped us off at the venue. Arriving 3 hours before the show started, we excitedly waited in line. 3 hours. Hoping to get as close to the band as possible, especially the lead singer, who I adored. Um, I grew up in a musical family. My dad and brothers all had been in bands at one time or another, and I fell in love with music at an early age. With a basement filled with guitar amps, microphones, and a drum set, I spent hours writing lyrics to songs and sneaking down there to sing when no one else was around. And you know what else? I actually looked at this and I was trying to see like who was on tour around this time, and there was a number of people. There was Van Halen, I believe it was Van Halen, David Lee Roth, something. There was a bunch of people because some people thought it was Duran Duran. I was like, I don't know, like they're talking about this whole thing. Anyway, it says when I was 11, we got cable. MTV flooded our living room with music videos for the first time. Mesmerized by the rock bands of the 80s, so it says rock bands of the 80s, I wanted to meet them and be them. One band became my favorite. After getting one of the group's albums for my 12th birthday, I pored over the pictures on the cover, memorized the lyrics to all the songs, and wrote hopeful letters to the band's fan club, naively believing I would get a reply. About a year later, at age 13, I actually got replies from people's moms. Like, I talked about that actually. What soap does he use? No, okay, so it's about a year later at 13, I begged my mom, I'm gonna go home. Age 13, I begged my mom to let me accompany her friend who was going to see the group in a city less than 2 hours away. She said no, I was too young, but when I woke up in the morning after the concert, I was overjoyed to find a band t-shirt hanging from my pink canopy bed. And I treasured the shirt so much that I was afraid to wear it because it might get ruined. In my teen years, life became challenging as I questioned the rules of my conservative Catholic parents and struggled to conform to the pristine expectations of my father. I rebelled, diving deeper into the escapism that music provided and became hyper-focused on meeting the band early in the summer when I was 15 An ad announcing the band was coming to my hometown came over the radio, and I knew I was going, whether my parents gave me permission or not. The author on her 17th birthday, I had stopped going to concerts around this time. As Tiffany and I waited in line outside the arena, a tour bus pulled in and drove around the back. Thinking the band might be inside, we left our place in line and went to find where it was parked. A few minutes later, we were staring at the vehicle's dark window, attempting to see inside when the tour bus flung open, and I gasped. A man I instantly recognized as the lead singer stepped out. He smiled and walked towards us. And they go, "Are you here to see the show?" And they said, "Yes," Tiffany replied. After talking for a few minutes, he gestured towards the arena and indicated that he needed to go inside. Would you like backstage passes for the show after the show, right? Bursting with excitement, we couldn't get the words out fast enough. Yes, we told him. So a surreal feeling pulsed through me as the guitar player and a roadie led us into the bus. So this is where the story is different. So I don't think it's the same story because it's like, okay, here we have another girl. And then at the beginning, it's the singer of the band. And it's prior to them leaving versus the running out and then Paul like starts hitting on him. So I was like, I'm pretty sure these are two different stories. Though they're really similar, same age thing. Um, and I think that and I think this story here is in America and the other one was in Canada. I think that's the thing. But it's really interesting because I was like, this must be a really common damn thing. So it says, would you like backstage passes? Okay, so then, yes. So then, the roadie and the guitarist then led them into the bus, and it looked like a house inside with a kitchen nook, long couches, lining walls, decorated woodwork. And there was a curtain that separated one area of the bus from the other. And they offered us beers. So they're offering like little 15-year-olds beers and made small talk before the roadie. See, to me, this is like child abduction. It's like, why are they even on their bus without an adult, right? What if some kids come to my bus? If they're gonna come in, I'm gonna ask where their damn parents are. Otherwise, they're gonna stay outside. I was like, so it says they offered us beers and made small talk before the roadie got up and led Tiffany to an area on the other side of the curtain. Not long after, the guitar player took me to a small, dimly lit bedroom. Sitting on the edge of the bed with his hand on my leg, and he slowly inched it under my skirt, feeling afraid I pulled away. And then she goes, "Where's Tiffany?" I asked. He kissed me and then pushed my head towards his penis, and then he said, "She's getting her backstage pass, and we were finished, and I'll give you yours." Like the whole thing. That's why I was like, this must be the very common thing with these assholes. And that I didn't do anything like that to get passes, you guys. I wanted to make that clear because I was like, I think that the reason why they were giving me the passes was so they were trying to get me to want to do that with him and be near him. I think that's the whole thing about it. And I didn't ask for the pass. Like, I literally have a recording of them offering it on my phone. I didn't even know they were going to go that route. Like, it was weird. And then it just became a normal thing. And then, but I have a business dealing with them too. So that's kind of the combination there. But don't ever, I think these girls thought that well, not that she thought anything because he totally forced her, but I think there's other girls here that thought, well, that's what we gotta do to get it. I was like, oh, hell no. You could have came to me, I would have got you one. Um, a half hour later, reunited with Tiffany, we took I wouldn't want to give it to kids though. You guys, solution for this. If it's still going on, I have no idea. No kid should be getting backstage passes unless an adult is present. Like, that's kind of you would think that would be a common sense thing, but that absolutely wasn't here. And then number two, like, why would you bring kids onto your fucking bus and then go and do this shit? Like, they're just they're just child predators, period. Like, this is like so uncalled for. Like, it's not even funny. That's why I actually pointed out that Vince didn't do that shit, because you hear these stories, and actually, if anybody were to do that, and it doesn't mean he didn't do that at any other time, okay? But he had a big opportunity there to be able to do that right there. Now, I don't know if he had his girlfriend there. She could have been waiting in the bus. You know what I mean? That whole thing right there. I have no idea. But it didn't happen there. And so that was something to bring up because holy crap. But I didn't even think that they were doing, I don't know, like I didn't have the bus experience other than the other team telling me to follow their bus. Beyond that, I don't know. It's kind of like things you heard about, but then I don't believe with kids though. When I'm thinking back at it, I was like, I don't think I even knew they were doing that to all these kids like that. Other women maybe, but not this. That would have freaked me out though. So it says a half hour later, they reunited with Tiffany. We took our backstage passes and left the bus. Seated in the section of the arena reserved for friends of the band, we shared grossly similar stories, discussed it, and we promised to not tell no one what happened. Perversely, we stayed at the show. We were ecstatic about the passes. We knew what those men had just done to us, and it felt wrong. And we were so caught up in the high of being close to our idols that we pushed our disgust to the pit of our stomachs and tried to forget what just occurred. Yeah, I'm sure it was like one of those things where it happened like really quick and you're just like, eh, like totally like almost like separated from the incident to where like they're talking about it now, but I think at the time it was just like, uh anyway, and then, goes on to this other thing. So it says after the show at the backstage party, I finally got to talk to the singer of the band because that's who they were interested. And I told him that I'd been a fan for years and had all their albums. And a burly man with a Polaroid camera took our picture and handed me a copy, and it overjoyed me when the singer signed it, and I still have it today. So the singer doesn't seem like the piece of crap in this. Like, I was trying to figure out who the hell is the singer. Um, yeah, because I mean, they're not saying that anything further happened, like with them now and the singer, just that they took a photo, right? So it says, in fact, I have a photo album filled with pictures, backstage passes, and autographs of all the bands I met between the ages of 15 and 17, which is absolutely crazy. And I became the envy of friends who saw photos of me partying with rock stars, but they didn't know the dark secret behind them. And by the time I was 16, three different men from three bands had sexually assaulted me, and I told no one what happened, least of all my parents, who I feared would blame me. And they actually might have, actually. Years later, I ended up in a therapist's office and I was suffering from anxiety, had developed an eating disorder, and was obsessed with how unattractive I looked. In a decade's time, this would be diagnosed as body dysmorphic disorder, and there was no clear identifier linking my mental health problems with the sexual assaults. But after months of therapy, deep feelings of shame rose to the surface. Eventually, I could finally admit what happened backstage and in hotel rooms with those bands. And thank God nothing happened with me at the hotel rooms either. Like, there was that story where they told me to go to the hotel room, and then we ended up, like, drinking with, like, half the band and the roadie. Anyway, it says at first, the more I revealed, the sicker I felt. But in hearing my voice purge the details, it became apparent for the first time that I had done nothing wrong and I wasn't bad and I didn't deserve what those men did to me. Exactly. I desperately needed to tell someone everything in a safe space so that I could release the shame that was suffocating me. So I just want to tell you, my name is not Pamela Anderson, so you would not know by going into a bus that you would get assaulted like that. I wouldn't either because that was not no. I was like, that wasn't a topic. Like, you like the way that you viewed it back at this time, because it's around that time period, like where you're looking at it going, well, you saw these videos with the girls going, hey, I want to be with you, like those ones. So then you just like think about them, right? You don't think like, oh, then they're going to bring me back there and then just like force me down. Hell no. Mm-mm. Nope, 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 nope. Fuck my, I would have killed him. Rub his shit bucket up on me. Like when I went back into the Aladdin, that was the time where I was like, dude, what the fuck? Because I walked back there. My friend is the girl, we shouldn't call her a friend. She's a fucking sociopath. Anyway, she goes missing, right? And I'm kind of freaking out. I'm like, should I be going backstage? Because I don't know where the hell that girl is. She could have got kidnapped and murdered. I don't know. Like, she getting raped right now. We don't know where she at. And I'm sitting there like, well, I got to go back here to talk with the damn fucking people. So I go in the backstage, and there's literally no one in this, like, hall thing. I don't even know how the hell this happened. Like, when I'm thinking about it, I was like, where the hell did I? And then I had to, like, be forced up onto his body, like, in this weird section. And I can't explain to you what the hell was right there. There was, like, something on the ground in the backstage area. And it's not even backstage. It's, like, the fucking casino. But it's, like, this weird room. And then I was like, had to be forced up against him. And then he just starts rubbing his fucking shit on me. I was like, dude, what the hell? And he's like hugging me. He's like, oh, and his bullshit. So then I was like, whoa, dude. Like, that hadn't happened. And so then, then I said he started like putting a couple people in this back room. And then that weird shit where he thinks he's like Clockwork Orange started happening. And I was like, okay, this shit is fucking psychotic. And then, yeah, and it was the game of follow the bus to, like, you can go because he changes and, this bullshit. So this started going on. And then, yeah, but no, fuck that, dude. People were dogging on her looks. I'm like, you guys understand? Like, when you go back to her early pictures, like, she's like the typical, like, girl next door that, like, yeah. I mean, this is like Madonna era. Like, it is like Duran Duran, Madonna era, that whole, that period right there. Then, and plus these guys don't even care. Like, there's tons of guys going, they don't care what you look like, I'll do whatever, and blah blah blah, whatever they can get away with, right? And it says the author in December. Recently, I heard news that musician R. Kelly was sentenced to 20 years in prison for child pornography and enticement of minors for sex. The same day, film producer Harvey Weinstein was sentenced to 16 years for rape and assault. As I read the reports, anxiety bubbled up, taking me back to memories of the blind adoration I had for those famous men. Exactly. That led to being victimized. Well, okay, so it says, I hurt for these women preyed upon by men who abuse their power and privilege, forever altering their lives. And I know too well the long lasting effects, and I know there are too many other women who have been traumatized in the same way. But there was something more, a feeling of kinship with fellow survivors, empowering by strength and standing up to perpetrators, and knowing the monumental act of courage it takes to do so. Healing and sometimes even justice can come from telling our stories. It shouldn't be sometimes. If you I mean, the crazy thing is when we're talking about Mr. Kitty, is that like everybody knows, right? Because you go in the comment section, even if they don't know like the exact details, like everybody knows like he did these horrible things. And I put him alongside with R. Kelly, and for some reason, the white guy gets away with it. And he's actually on tape all over the place. Like, no one's even denying, like, he did these things, right? And one of the things that was crazy about it is when they were trying to take the video down, I believe it was mostly over Anthony Kitty. It was over Mr. Kitty's because they were telling me, like, why are you saying this horrible thing about him and blah, blah, blah. He said he's sorry. I'm going to try to take you down. That's what they were saying. They were coming after me. I was like, you come after me, kids. Well, they're not kids. I don't know who the hell it is. But anyway, it's probably Anthony getting all pissed. And so then they try to take me down, and I'm like, I didn't do anything wrong. I'm literally just quoting what they're saying, and now I have an opinion about it. So then I had to go through this war, and then I win, and then they're pissed off, right? So then when I did the other clip last night, and then you go through the comments, and they said, I think it's funny that you're getting downvoted to the other person for stating facts. I go, yeah, you can't say anything bad about him because they have these people that come after you. And so for me talking about, I mean, my stuff's already bad enough alone that I have people coming after me, but the more I talk about them, the more I'm pissing off people in the industry because they're all friends with them. And so then when I start pulling out more people, then they start getting mad at me for pulling out more people, and then they start coming after me. So I'm an enemy, like, to all of them. I don't think there's too many that I haven't, like, tread upon with an opinion about something. who's standing. I don't know. I don't think any of them like me. Period. Like people I used to like anything. No, I think they've been very vocal about supporting people that I brought up, and they want to ignore all that, and they want their little fandom. They're being the biggest groupies ever. So I'm like, who are you calling a groupie? I'm not the one sitting there saying, oh, I'm gonna blindly just ignore like this guy did this. You know, I wish she would have said who it was though on here, because and showed that stuff, but she didn't. But it says, but there were something more, a feeling of kinship. Okay, so all that, and then it says, though I've previously written about another sexual assault experience later in my life. Yeah, so she has multiple accounts. I have multiple accounts. I have a lot more than her, I'm sure, but yeah, multiple accounts. It says, I've never publicly spoken about what happened to me and with the men, and I idolized all those years ago up until now. And it took me years to get over what happened, to stop blaming myself, and to heal. In the early years after the assault by those famous men, I had little insight into how they had affected me. Oh, this is pretty fucking like for me. Like I'm still going on. I didn't even recognize I had been assaulted until I landed in that therapist's office, and I lived with feelings of disgust and shame every day. Yeah, like when it happened, it was probably a thing. Like I said, when it happened, they probably just cut it off. Like, yeah, that's not whatever. Oh, or maybe they even thought at the time, like, oh, cool. Like they could have thought that, but it's still assault, right? So it was just like, and then it's like, but then they may not have known the terminology for it because none of us did back then, really. So it says, I live with the feeling of disgust and shame every day, struggling to get past them and not understanding the connection between what happened and what I was experiencing. Over time, I made progress, but it would ebb and flow. Occasionally, I hear people in my inner circle, friends, family, coworkers, talking about a woman who had experiences like mine, and I would have a setback. Why didn't she fight back? Why did she willingly go with that man? Why had she dressed so promiscuously? Why hadn't she come forward sooner? Each time I want to say something, but instead I silently stuff stuff my shameful feelings back down again. Isn't that crazy? Like mostly like hearing that as a kid, it's like you don't even know what the fuck is going on. I'm still like the whole situation I was talking about with my ex. I was like, that shit. Like he was trying to get me alone. And so that's a different thing. But he was trying to get me alone and to leave my friend at this place. And we were going to stay there anyway that night. But then he just wanted to run off. And he just wanted to run off. And she's like, don't take off. And then he like makes me leave. And then apparently somebody else tried to prey on her or did. But the way that the wording was of this whole thing was sort of like, whatever, that's funny. And I thought she liked them or something. And then it's a hindsight thing. It's like, as I'm looking back, I was like, holy crap. Like, and then plus the guy was like old, like older. I think he was the oldest guy in their band. And I feel terrible. Like, it's not my fault, but I feel really terrible. And, but they never said anything. So I don't even know how they look at it right now. But I don't think it was good because when I brought up the name later, they're just like, like don't mention that. Um, but they didn't really. No, nobody talked about this stuff. None. Nope. Ultimately, I found that mental health treatment, conscious self work, and time were my way out of darkness. I've been in therapy on and off for 30 years. That's a long time. And I engage in a spiritual practice that includes prayer and meditation every morning. I read self growth books and repeat positive affirmations. These have served as the backbone of my recovery, and I have setbacks, especially after the other sexual assault experience that occurred years ago, which made me once again question myself in devastating ways, but I am constantly working to recognize them and do whatever I can to keep moving forward. No, I had my thing later on too, and at no point do I blame myself for any of that. Everybody's a piece of shit up in here in the music industry that hid that one. I would not. It was more confusing as to why the son of a bitch did that. But nothing of me going there or anything like that, or even having a drink with them. I should be able to have a drink with somebody without having some shit like that happen, you guys. And just a glass of wine, because that's quite an Italian thing to do. We're not talking about heavy drink. I love all the people that come in here and think I'm like a total drunk. Probably because when I'm talking about my stories, I'm actually talking about times where they took advantage of me when I had a drink. And literally, that's probably about the only times I ever had a drink. Like, in general, like it's like they're trying to gaslight me to make it sound like I'm this total alcoholic. I'm like, oh my God, what the hell? I'm like, when was the last time I had a drink? Um, Maybe like two times in like 5 years or something. Like, to be honest, because I think during like Christmas I had maybe a pina colada or something. The fuck did I have? But I wasn't even drunk, dude. I have to watch my calories, dude. I was like, that thing's like high. Um, what else? Um, yeah, maybe on a birthday or something. Not often at all. And I don't drink to get drunk, and it's not really that fun to drink alone. You know, if you're doing that, maybe that's a bigger problem. But it isn't like, no, I don't have that problem. They're just trying to fucking start shit up in here. Anytime you hear that weird fucking clank, 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 that's my fucking coffee, you assholes. Like, I have this, like, huge, like, glass, and I make iced coffee, and I drink it twice a day. I was like, twice a day. I wouldn't be this energetic, dude. I would be knocked out all the time if I was, like, fucking drunk. You guys are idiots. Okay, so on here, but people should be able to have a drink without somebody drugging it up and knocking you out and raping you. That's the thing. Like, I should be able to go somewhere and have a drink. And I'm always the designated driver, so I can't even be an alcoholic, you guys. So that's the thing. I could have 1 to 2 drinks for like how many hours? Like a 4 hour, 5 hour, some other bullshit. Because I'm always the designated driver. That's my limit. I can't because I gotta drive everybody, right? So like when we go out and we go do stuff, I have to pace it and be like, I can only have one. Like, I can't even get drunk because I gotta drive. So it's like I could have a beer right when we get there, and then if we're gonna be there for hours and hours and hours, I could probably have two, and then we stop at a certain point, and then I gotta wait like 1 or 2 hours, whatever it is, and then I could go home. 'Cause I gotta drive people home if I drank while we're out, right? That's it. When was the last time I was out? I'm like 2005. I don't know, but anyway, so it's like I can't change what happened, and my experiences, for better or worse, have made me who I am. But I realize now that I have a choice in what I do with them. And my hope is that maybe my story will reach someone who needs to hear it and will make. Okay, so I did have a problem with this portion. Okay. Fame can make people do strange and sometimes awful things. Okay, number one, it's not fame. They were already rapists and into kids and into raping women and having no respect for my gender or gender, right? Generally, and it would include LGBTQ and everything else. I want to make that clear. I don't want to be sounding all like, but it's not fame. They're a bunch of male supremacists. I was like, they don't have any care or respect for you. So basically, they're a bunch of sociopaths, right? So to be raping kids like that, and there's no consent, right? So it's a thing where they were always like that. They didn't just become a rapist because of fame, right? It's a thing that was started when they were children. I keep trying to explain this whole thing about it because it's not something that happens when they're just an adult. Like, they turn to an adult and they're now becoming a rapist. That's not it. They are that way because of early situations. It could be child abuse. It could be that they got sexually harmed as a kid. The biblical beliefs that you guys are actually all following are very much meant to degrade you as a female and not to have any sort of empathy towards you. So when they're children, they don't develop that empathy that should be there. empathy that should be there, and it's actually not fixable. So when they become an adult, you can't just all of a sudden gain that back. So what they can do if they actually go to therapy, they can help them act properly, but they'll never have the proper empathy for other people, mostly females, mostly because of that. And that's why I started seeing the correlation between ASPD, sociopath, between these things. It was really interesting. And all it is like it's like their minus of having any empathy towards women. It's like if you were a kid and you started like killing a bunch of animals and you had no feeling towards it, and they could become serial killers. But no, like that whole thing, and you didn't all of a sudden develop emotion. Like I think you could do that and then develop empathy for what you're doing and not do it anymore. But because that didn't develop, that they don't have that. It's not there. So for them to do that to anyone, it's absent. So definitely. I don't care what any professional has to say, and I would hope that they would agree with that. But it's void. So when you like things when you were saying like, oh, that's not your story. I get the Paul Stanley story separated. Okay, so Paul Stanley, if he was acting that way, which I believe he probably was, he has no concept. Like he has no. It's freaking ridiculous. Like you see somebody crying and you're like, this is the perfect time to come on in and try to hit on them. Now I've had this many times and this is psychotic where it's like all of a sudden I'll be crying and this is the time that some fucking piece of shit thinks it's the perfect time to come in and prey on me. Or I'll be damned. And yeah, that's why I was like totally. I could just imagine. And then she's like 15. He'll probably sit there and go, "Oh, I thought she was at least 16, you know, because 16's old enough for me." No. But at least he wasn't the one that did the thing in the story. But there was somebody claiming that, like, they all gotten in trouble for stuff like that on the side in legal things. I can't prove it, but I can say for one person, they've had tons of allegations and there's some other things in there where they made some comments that yeah, and then they used to be a teacher, and then they write a song about being attracted to the student out of school. Because I can almost see it. It's like, I love this rock band. It's fucking Kiss, right? Kiss was like one of the ones from back in the day, too. And then Paul comes out and just is like this little burly man with a Polaroid camera. I never had a guy with a Polaroid camera in the backstage. I didn't even have a guy with a camera generally in the backstage. I didn't want to take pictures in the backstage because then, like, what the fuck? I didn't want pictures of those guys. I was like, I don't want pictures of those guys. Why would I? I don't know. Like, I didn't even know who. Like, half the time I wouldn't even know who was playing with them, and then like I'd go, and then I'm hanging out with in the back thing, and then it's just like, oh, here's Warren, oh, here's Scorpions, and there's so and so, and like you don't even. I didn't even know like half the time. I'd just be there, and then there's like Scorpions. No, but they wouldn't even let me meet those guys though. Like while I was there, like I would see them, but I wasn't allowed. I mean, on that one, there was something weird on that Scorpions one, and I was trying to remember all of that. But when we were back there, we were like weirded out by the whole thing. We didn't know anybody, and then the assistant like took off somewhere, and then we're just like, oh, we could have done a lot more, I'm sure, than what we did there. I don't know, man. I went to town posting on this, and I hated like every comment thing that was on this. And then someone goes, I call bull. They know exactly what they were doing when they put their matching leather skirts. No, they didn't. How would they know? I'm just wondering, how would they know that was going? How do kids know that that's going to go on? So there's security, and that's the other question to it. The some of the people that are watching over this are off-duty officers. So can you explain why they were allowing kids to get raped up in here? This woman is the same as many others who try to blame their indiscretions on famous people they've been with. They haven't made it in life suddenly, then realize that 20 years prior they were victims and sue for money. Even though they're totally ignoring that it was a total child and they totally raped him. Like, they didn't know it was. There's no way in hell. Where would a kid know that that was going to happen? Where would a kid know that was going to happen? I didn't have that happen. Thank God. It could have happened. They brought me to their house for a business meeting after the other thing. So, and nowhere would I think that was going to happen. Come on. Pieces of crap. Men can do what they want. You know, I have mixed emotions about this art. Why? What is it? She wasn't 7 years old. She knew it was wrong, but her ego kept her going back for more. That is so terrible. These people are fucking whack. At least they removed one of the comments. Did they leave mine up here? I don't know. Prostitution comes to mind. Selling your services for tickets, backstage passes. No, that would actually be like more like human trafficking children to like force them into a situation to do that. Nice job, James. I went to town on these comments, and now there's even more worse ones on here. I don't even know if they're on here. Like, I always think, like, I'm going to post all this stuff, and then when I do, they may come in and erase them all. But I didn't say anything that was... I guess you believe she's an adult at 15, then I expect you believe we should get rid of statutory rape laws, and you have no sympathy for her getting assaulted at 15. Exactly. The people that are talking like that are actual rapists. Because if you think like that, that means that you have no F's about a 15-year-old, and if a 15-year-old walks in on you, you think that you could just throw her down onto your lap, right? That they're telling you who they are. It's very easy to tell who the rapists are and how they view my gender or how they view men as well. Because if you start reading this on a thing where they're talking about little boys getting touched, and you start reading something like this, they're not hard. Sociopaths are not hard to read. Elizabeth has a fucking problem. Victims of her own life choices. Choices she must have enjoyed since she filled an album. Elizabeth is a jealous piece of crap. Male supremacist, garbage can, probably Bible thumping, you know what. And you're blaming a kid, and you could tell that she abuses her own kids, if she has any. And that she's the one that will cover up sex crimes because this is how she views sex crimes on children. Can you believe this? Like, I would never talk like this at all, this woman. Like, and she loved the attention, the envy of her friends. I mean, I don't know if my friends were not like out and bored that they were envious of me, but I do believe they were envious of me just generally because I'm not just because of the band thing, because they got to meet all those guys and then they met other people up north, but more because like I was doing what I well, allegedly, what I dreamed of, and like broke away from back home because a lot of them stayed there and they didn't break away to go fulfill their major dreams in life. And I think the envy was more about that per se than anything to do with these old those things. It would. I don't know about the Motley Crue. Like eating the Motley Crue thing though. Because my friend got to meet the main guy that she liked. It would be different if I went and just met him on my own, and then some bullshit happened. then there was gonna be I'm pretty sure there would have been a major issue there. Um, but she didn't meet the rest of the guys, not to my knowledge, and then I did. So I don't know. I don't know if she had a problem with that. Maybe she didn't, because I don't. I don't. Her main thing was Vince. Um, I don't know. I mean, those could be things that because she won't. She like went into this like hibernation and like just wanted to just stop talking one day. It was a really weird thing. Um, and so then like if I start meeting all the people that she was like massively like huge fans of, and maybe that was cool. I don't know. I don't really know because like if you go through my audios of her calling me throughout the years, it's nothing. Like you don't catch any of that so much. Mm-mm. We were really, we were pretty close as far as like everything that we did. Like if there was anything going on, I'd tell her. So it was a very strange thing, but the time that she did a cutoff was when all these people were targeting me, and I was like, that's interesting. So I would hate to think that they only wanted to stay friends with me because of the possibility of meeting people. Like that would be hella shitty. But I knew her since, junior high. So it's not like she just randomly popped up while I knew all these people. But it's just I don't know. I don't know how to look at it. But I also think like there were some personal things maybe going on with her that then, I don't know, mental health issues. That wouldn't have to do with me per se. Because I would think that if there was a major problem, then why wouldn't she say something? I've known her since fucking. It was like 25 years. How many years? It was a long time at that time. Nope. If that girl called me and she's like, come and get me in Woodland and blah, blah, I would stop right now. It's like literally 8 o'clock at night, and I would have got into my car and drove fucking 8 hours. Exactly. So, but if I told them the same thing, they wouldn't do it. That's the problem with me is how I am with my friends. Like, yeah. I was like, there's that thing going on. I mean, she wasn't totally that bad. She did attempt to come out here like a couple of times. I think one time with her sister, and then another time she did finally get on a bus. But the rest of the time, no, it was me. It was me. Totally, like in the middle of like right now, I would have this like things like we're gonna just go out and I'm gonna go drive up to Sac like right now. I'm gonna jump in. I don't even care if my tires are like needing to be replaced. I'm gonna go. I was like, some bullshit like that. Yeah, drive to go watch Vince Neil and fucking have me almost get pneumonia for 3 months. 3 fucking months, dude. 3 months for that shit. I'm not appreciated because I wouldn't have done that to her, but what I mean. Would it be worth it to die for Vince Neil? No, no, honey. Um, that's what I'm saying. It's really crazy. I was like, the disrespect from people from back then is really interesting. What can we say? But none of them talk like this. Victims of her own life choices she must have enjoyed. Oh my god, if any of my friends talk like that, we wouldn't be friends. Why are you hiding your supposed abusers? Because the lawsuit is coming. It could be Steve Tyler's band too, right? But I would think that Steve Tyler would be the one that did it. That's what's like, who are the ones that were already known? Why should her parents be arrested? In this one, the parents should be arrested. The parents didn't even know. Like, they let her go to a concert. I went to Paul Stanley when I was in 10th grade. right? It was 10th grade, wasn't it? Or it was in the summer of. Oh, it could have been the start of the following year before I graduated, but I was 16. Paul, if Paul was going on like that 15-year-old dude, me and Paul there, right there. Thankfully, nothing happened, but there was something funny that we did though, and I was like saying, I was like, we're never gonna tell. I might tell one day. It's actually funny. It's so stupid. Like I came up with something um and then something kind of funny happened when I tried to do something, and then my friend's like, "Oh my god, you're such a nerd." I was like, "Yeah," but yeah, but anyway, but I was literally the show. I forgot for some reason. I was thinking like I was up on the side watching, but actually, I think I confused that with when we were watching the Scorpions eons later, because I was like, "Why are we up on this side balcony thing?" Because at this show I was literally underneath Paul and have photos to prove it. So, but the photos were so blurry that they were put away for a long time, and they're not ones that you would normally typically want to show off to everybody. But they actually became funny, and I posted them the other day, and I was like, we're just gonna post that, even though like Instagram's always like. We're trying to look our best and all fake and filtered and perfect and all this. I'm like, I'm going to take all my fucked up photos and post it here. And then I got responses on it. So it worked. I'm like, stop trying to be fake, you son of a bitch. It looks like bad parenting to me. The only thing that's bad parenting here is the fact that they didn't talk to their kids about sex and what is rape and anything else. Because the minute that you start talking to the kid about that, and then you go, oh, if any guy ever does this, then it is actually called sexual assault and rape. So then the kid could know like exactly what happened. Because they would sit there and go, oh, this guy, when we went to the show. But the parents could have actually blamed her. It's actually true that could happen because they're religious. They're Catholic, I think. So, yeah. Because that's what that happened to our friends. So the AOG, basically the mom that was at the assembly of God, the AG people, when they knew about the 19-year-old and the 13-year-old, like they just totally reamed them and said you can't hang out with him anymore, like it's somehow her fault, you know what I mean? And then bad things happen because of that, because it's not the girl, it's not the minor's responsibility, it's actually the parents to the adult, right? The adult that's doing it, and the parents and the mom should have actually called the police on him, right? It's not the 13-year-old, and it's not me either, because I'm not an adult either. It's not my other friend, and the sister should have gotten in trouble too, and that. But technically, the guy that was involved in that, and the setup one though, on the other hand, should have actually been my two other friends getting arrested and the guy, whoever set that shit up. Because they're the ones that dragged me out of the situation watching it. I'm like, holy crap, what the fuck? And then I got into it with them outside. I was like, that girl, she's only this. And they're like, he likes her. So, yeah, totally. And I was like, well, he just did this thing. Yeah, I was like, if your fucking mom knew about this. hmm That's the Assembly of God. Those people are atrocious. Well, so you jumped into the fire and then complained it is hot. Wow, how smart is that? She's a kid. Scott, you little fucking piece of shit. I told you, I was like, look, it's all men here too. Michael, you were addicted. Blame on only yourself. Why is she not responsible for going back for more and more and more? She put herself in a position. Now she wants attention. She didn't give. How did she get 3 bands though? You're an asshole, Mary. Because you know how hard it is to get these guys. Okay, I don't know what everybody's thinking up in here, but I can't just go to any fucking show and just randomly end up backstage. Teenage brains sometimes make very bad decisions. She didn't make any decision. They told her to go on a bus. Add some alcohol, and it's hard to predict what happened. I think women often tend to. Well, you start off going. Teenage brains sometimes make bad decisions. That's a blaming Charles. And then you go, I think women often, I'm glad you know, Charles, often tend to blame themselves for what some men do to some men. You mean all men? Sad to read her experiences. No, it's sad to read of her experiences, experience singular. After the first time it was on her. No, it isn't. It's not the same story. Like, it's weird. She didn't get into the other stories, but, um, I don't know how, like, so yeah, my point with that was it's hard to go backstage and have these incidents happen because there's so many people at these shows. Have you guys not gone to shows? And I think men are even getting jealous because they're wanting to meet them because my ex-boyfriend got to meet, or at least got to mingle with some of the, I mean, I don't know. He didn't get to meet outside the thing, but he might have got, like, to meet some of the band members. Nicole's like agreeing with two idiot guys. I tend to agree with this. While these adults did prey on them, they should have learned their lesson the first time, and first time going back multiple times after expecting different results is just insane. Are you serious? Those are fucking different people. So we're supposed to expect to get raped by like every single human. Did they cut off the comments here now? Is that what happened? Oh yeah, they did cut it off. At 6,000. There was actually 6,000 comments on this. It was like a really huge one. I mean, I commented all for days. I don't even know where those comments are at. They remove a comment and they leave this. Like, she loved to go skiing with rockers, a pole in each hand, swishing away. You're talking about a child, dude. That's fucking disgusting. And these people are all a bunch of pedos. Anybody going on like that? I have no sympathy for this girl. You have no sympathy for any girl. You're called a sociopath. Thank you. You're going down. I was like, that's just it. Sounds like her parents and Tiffany's parents were a major part of the problem. Mm, I'm gonna say no. The only problem that they had was not talking about sexual assault. I guess after the first time you got a taste for it. Okay. No, 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 no. They're saying men are basically saying you need to expect us to rape you. So every guy in a band that you meet afterwards, you should expect us all to rape you. So kids, why are you coming near us? We're a bunch of pedos. We're gonna rape you. So that's what they're saying. That's their argumentation. That's their logic and reasoning, and that's pretty fucking whack. She would probably do it all over again if she could. She's just too old. Are we supposed to feel sorry for? See, they have no empathy towards our gender. It's right here, guys. You wouldn't feel sorry for any female, Kurt. Going back means slut. Oh, here we go. Beto wants to use some fucking degrading language. She is simply bragging and reliving this. If you see that as bragging, maybe you have a fucking problem, dude. You were old enough to say no. Actually, no. The state laws, 15 wear and walk off the butt. Can you imagine Amanda being your mom? You're going to your mom. You're like, these guys like got me on a bus and they did this to me. So here's Amanda, your mom. You were old enough to say no and walk off the damn bus. Instead, you stay there to get your backstage pass, and then you went to several more events. After that one, expecting and receiving the same treatment. You're a little whore. Yeah, that's her. As a mom. Where did she get that? That is male supremacy right there. I mean, they don't listen to themselves. She's a kid. It's not even legal in any state for 15. Are you fucking kidding me? And not in 16 in this state, not even 8 up until 18, right? So she stopped going to shows at 17. Here's pals. This is a dude. At some point, you know right from wrong, and you set yourself up. What? How do you set yourself up for rapists? You're the rapist, pal. You get, and then it's a lifestyle. It's a lifestyle to get raped by men. And then you want to blame someone because it's hard to accept the blame and accept that you had a responsibility in this and you could have stopped. You had a responsibility to stop. Wait, a responsibility for you, probably your sons being a rapist on children. That's what they're dealing with, and it's hard for them to see. I understand the mentality now. I didn't at the time, and I'm sure this girl will be going through it, reading shit like this. I understand the mentality right now, and it's ASPD. Totally, completely, because you could tell right here where they're just like, I'm the rapist, so you're the idiot child to come into my fucking house and let me rape you. That's our argumentation. So, yeah, that's a problem. Reading that, it's fucking disgusting. But and you can't fix this person right here. You can't fix that person. It's too late. So then, but again, due to the religion that you guys keep leaning on, caused a thing where young boys and girls lacked a sense of empathy for our gender. So that is part of ASPD too, because don't view certain things as, like they can just kill. Some can just like kill people with no fucks about it. So they lack this thing right there. And that's why you say you go through this and they're like, are we supposed to feel bad for this? Did you ever feel bad for a woman? No, never. So they're actually telling you what they're lacking. Okay. So we're gonna end right here because but they have this whole thing. There's like 6,000 comments, and there's no way now I'm going through all that.